Good morning, evening, afternoon. I am back with some echoes of Lucid9 Fangame. Previously, we are getting some conversations between the corporations. Rui's body was exposed. That didn't sound right. Her mechanics, the stuff underneath, was exposed. And find out that there's a chance to save Yama. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And it's pretty much where we left off, and not in that exact order. Require is a strong word, but if you can offer any, it will not be refused. Our contract with the state stipulates that while inside the district, only your Boogleshaw? What's a Boogleshaw? Forces may use non-kinetic weapons against infantry targets. Naturally, the same restrictions apply to the use of lethal ammunition against compliant civilians. While we still intend to honor this agreement, I'm sure it's evident to you by now that the situation has changed. How so? My forces managed to scan some of the perpetrators before they were killed in action. The armor configuration of their assailants matched that of an EALF infantry detachment. Neutronium plating. They may as well have been throwing cotton balls at them. Have you considered that this may be an issue of competence rather than firepower? Be mindful of the accusation you make. Bugai. Oh, I read the eyes out. Bugai Shaginshu is always the weakest hand that points the most fingers. Or have you forgotten the magnitude of our social assistance programs? The food banks and shelters we built, the clinics we funded. If this is indeed part of an ongoing insurgency, and not another of your ill-fated false flag operations, you would be wise to listen. My warriors have not done all that they can do. They have done all that they are allowed to do. You may question our honor, but do not question our ability to serve when it has long since surpassed yours. So you say, but your ability to serve was why your firepower was limited in the first place. This is true. I am not asking that you restore it, but I do expect you to take note of the threat these malefactors now pose to the Trifect's authority. a threat limited to your jurisdiction. Now, I clicked on it. Yep, the threat limited to your jurisdiction. Limited to your jurisdiction. Okay, there we go. I can assure you that will not be the case for long. Your paradigm of control will be challenged and potentially undermined. And while it may be challenged by the destitute, the ignorant, or those who already have nothing to lose, such turrets, such derritists can be purged without consequences. But know this. Is this supposed to be Bugeisha? Yeah, it is Bugeisha. I was just saying it wrong. Bugeisha Genshu. If your authority is ever undermined, it will be undermined by the privileged, the educated, the well-armed, and above all, those who believe that the millions under our control will lose a great deal by not undermining that authority. If you are unwilling to treat them with the decency and respect they deserve under this regime of yours, at least maintain the illusion that they can prosper within it. A reasonable request, provided such a feat is attainable. Perhaps it would be prudent to allow DCIS to investigate these attacks. They've already begun. When they want to look into something, it's best to stay out of the way. It turns out that we are dealing with insurgent activity. The media has more than enough influence to present the situation in a favorable light. If I understand correctly, that's where the girl comes in. Precisely. I designed Aurora to go public eventually. And Special Services has already recovered most of the boy's neural functionality. We should be able to publicly share both of their likenesses and stories in a matter of weeks. Though we'll need to consult someone trusted by the INN in order to make that happen. For once, the citizens of Isamu need something to focus on that isn't an abject tragedy. Something that can bring them together, and more importantly, something that can shift their attention away from the recent disturbances. That's the purpose of Aurora, to show that no matter how damaged a person is psychologically, their minds and body can be enhanced to compensate for the lack of contentment with reality. That's quite noble of you. But you brought the daughter of Junji and Akane Hayata into active duty in the SSD. That's quite... I just read that. There we go. Sometimes when I click on it, it doesn't continue on. You must understand the risk that entails. Were a security breach to occur due to a residual attachment to her parents, the entire trifecta's safety would be compromised. I've taken care of that. After the incident at the IIBA, both of them were placed under general anesthesia for detailed examination. Given their inability to resist, it was an apt time to perform some necessary modifications to their neurology. By the Hayata's method, of course. I'll humor you then, but don't mistake my permission for an endorsement of your reckless stance on human experimentation. This is a favor to you and the rest of your corporation. Misuse it, and intervention will be necessary. Do you understand? I do. As for Hayata's concerned, as far as Hayata's concerned, I intend to employ precaution at my disposal in order to ensure that this transition takes place smoothly. While we're on the subject of precautions, the Special Services Division operatives isolated cells, correct? Operates in isolated cells, correct? I ruined his tough guy line, because this guy is the tough guy. If you intend to swear Hayata into active service, I assume you also intend to assign her to one. She'll be the 9th member of the Lucid cell. If all goes well, it seems appropriate, as she is directly involved with Aurora. As for the THB, it may not be the safest drug we've ever developed, but insects can't function without it. While we need to ensure that both remain in good hands, I'm confident that the SSD can make it happen. Once we grant Hayata tenure. Oh, she isn't tenured yet. See, I thought she was already tenured. Once we grant Hayata tenure, the probability of success will be higher than it's ever been. If she needs protection in District 3, the Combine is more than willing to assist you. DCIS and Limniscape might be tasked to capacity, however. They're in touch with a freelance hacker at the moment. Cryptokami, I believe. Their allegiance appears to be just as questionable as their choice in profession. Fortunately, their skill is not. While it would be preferable to work with an operative from one of the other trifect corporations, it would seem that this phantom of an individual is best suited to helping us do our due diligence in 6. As for DCIS, the official of the Office of Domestic Affairs is currently focused on incident investigation, while the Office of Communication is attempting to isolate and parse the nature of this hacker's associates. The real identities came through as effectively unknown, but it would seem that these people are part of the organization of an organized group. The Birdsong Collective? Most likely. From this point onward, exercise extreme caution and check your personal terminals regularly. You should have access to our findings within the next 24 hours. From this point onward, exercise just read that. If you manage to recover the identities of these birdsong folk, I can send Hayata in to speak with them when she's sworn in, and only if you like, of course. Keep her contained for the time being. It's unlikely that anyone would stand to benefit from you unleashing her onto the rest of Isamu. I will, however, be sending you a list of tasks I'd like her to complete, provided you don't object to any of them on principle. Inform her that her efforts will be generously rewarded, and with far more than what the Special Service Division can normally offer. Future tense, of course. You've already returned what matters most to her. I'll do the same. At the moment, my warriors would benefit greatly from some inspiration, as well as the aid of a powerful ally. It seems we're all in agreement then. Shall we adjourn this meeting? I would say so. As would I. Very well then. I'll relay an update to the both of you soon. Cutting connection in 3, 2. My throat. Note that. Today's going to be just like any other day. After turning off my alarm, her room looks exactly like a hospital room. After turning off my alarm and stumbling out of bed, that's the first thing I tell myself. Continue to think of it. Come to think of it, it's been the first thing I've always told myself. When you have nothing to look forward to in the coming 18 hours, but completing the same mundane tasks over and over again, you should at least try to appreciate the stability of your daily life. Perseverance. Precision. Blah, blah, blah. What was that? Perseverance, precision. Over and over and over and over and over. And over and over and over and over and over and over. I reach for the half-empty glass bottle beside me, swallowing everything inside in single motion. It burns going down, flowing inside. It hurts. Sweet. See, that's the problem when you have your thing all the way up. Alright, I didn't mean to right click. I always do that. I mean to go to settings, but I just right click. Alright, let's turn this way down. I feel like here's good. Merciful God, it absolutely hurts. But as bad as it is, it's still necessary. It's still refreshing. It still reminds me that I'm living on borrowed time. And for some reason, it feels so fucking okay. I've actually grown to quite like it. As far as getting my mind to stop clawing at the inside of my skull is concerned, nothing beats a mild chemical burn at the back of my throat. Stumbling into the shower and projectile vomiting a liter and a half of shitty bourbon down the drain. And certainly undignified and regularly disturbing. And a regularly disturbing thing to experience. Well, it's still in progress, especially once breathing becomes a bit of an issue. But being immune to sharp objects and the effects of exercise makes it just about the only way I can still steal a few endorphins for myself. And it's also way easier to deal with than the slow panic that hits me periodically when I'm feeling some paperwork or waking up from a fairly interesting dream. Last night, for example, I was chained naked to a dead tree with razor wire and hundreds of cockroaches and maggots were eating me alive while I gave birth to them. Unfortunately, that kind of gore porn is just about the only thing I dream about nowadays. But whenever I'm awake and the stakes are high and I need to just think, that sensation of slow panic comes back to me like a violent crimson whirlwind that tears through my mind and unplugs everything in its way. Once it passes, it's like my cerebral cortex becomes an entire grid of downed power lines. Oh no! The menu's a little bit in the way. I will to put 2 and 2 together and graph the regression of it being raised to its factorial. Can I scroll down? I can't read what's down here. No. Something. It's just too big for this screen, I guess, because it went all the way down. If it isn't going, I like how there's this little thing that almost looks like a beating heart or breathing. If it isn't going to stop, then might as well just fuck it, right? Burn it all down. Like the mountain of shit people are still okay. I was making sure. Burn it all down. Like the mountain of shit people are still tasting with those big spoons of theirs. Even though it already looks and smells like the inside of someone's colon. When I first encountered this maddening state of existence, I used to have thoughts and feelings like those all the time. I've always hated them more than I've ever hated anyone, but more than that, I've hated trying to describe it to anyone who was enough of a fucking brainlet to still think I had to be anxious about something. As if I have to find some bullshit to balance it on, some bullshit to blame it on, and can't just taste funny because my expiration date was a decade ago. So, for the sake of the people who depend on me, I kept pushing it down, like an overflowing trash can filled with sticky tissues. And only now that I realize the person who put them there wasn't blowing their nose. Life is just a rat race where the track is on fire. A majority of the rats are either starving or insane, and the rest don't even want to run. Once you cross the finish line, you and your rat friends have no choice but to dive into the nearest dumpster and try to eat some of the good stuff before the other fucking rats team up to eat you. If I could speak to the ignorant girl I once was, I'd tell her everything I knew about the rats. How their destiny was to eat shit and die, but not before making more rats to also eat shit and die. But I already know that dumb bitch wouldn't listen to me. Oh no, Rui, you're so mean to your old self. You were so young all those 3 years ago. We'll see what Rui has to say to her old self in the next episode. Bye.